So if you're looking to get into the space of interviewing people, but you have no idea what gear you need, what lighting setups you need, or how to set up your gear for that matter, well, in this video, we're going to discuss how I've gone about this setup, and maybe you can copy and paste this sort of idea or improve it and make it your own. And you can implement this into your own interviews so you can go further in your videography career. So yeah, let's get into it. Hi guys, my name is Ricardo. If you haven't been to this channel before, I'm a videographer, cinematographer out of Auckland, New Zealand. I've been doing this for about 2 years now, and believe it or not, this is the first time I've actually set something like this by myself. And I've done it for others, I've done it with help from others, so I've done it a few times in hindsight, but never by myself, or never in my own living room for that matter. So what you're seeing right now is a setup that took me about an hour to do, but yeah, I did fluff around a little bit, so it did take me a little bit longer than an hour. So if you ever have a shoot like this where you have to interview somebody, definitely make sure that you have an hour up your sleeve at least, and make sure you know your gear, so then you know exactly how to place things, where to go, where things go, how to fix issues that you might have at that point in time. So yeah, definitely give yourself time before an interview and not cut it short, because you're going to struggle and it's going to be very stressful for you. For this setup, I use my FX3 with a Sony 35mm f1.8. I believe it's an f2 at the moment. It's a great lens, very inexpensive compared to G Master lenses, but for videography, this 1.8 f1.8 is great. It doesn't focus, breathe, and for the price, you can't go wrong with it, that's for sure. For the B cam, I've got a Sony A7IV with a Sigma 24-70 f2.8 Mark II. At the moment, obviously setting in f2.8 to give me the blurriest background, and obviously that separation between the subject to make me stand out. They both have variable NDs, which are the Nisi True Color. I really like this product. I've had Freewell. No hate on Freewell. They're a great VND. However, the color shift that I had on those was a bit too much for me, so I decided to go for something else, and I bought two of these Nisi True Color 125 NDs. So yeah, I haven't looked back since. I'm actually going to get a third, just how great they are. I might even look into the magnetic side of things, but hey, let's not digress. Definitely need a VND for your system so you can control every little aspect of your setup. If you don't have a VND, you can't control the room lighting, especially the windows that you see in the background. They'll be blown out, they'll be very bright, and you can't really shape your image. So you definitely need a VND on your lenses, so then you can control it, the room light, and then you can shape it from there. So we always light for spaces, not faces. Very cliche term, but it's true. It's true. You always light the room first. Make sure that nothing's blown up, overexposed, and then you start bringing your lights one by one to see how it affects the room. And then you bring your subject and you move on and on. For audio, unfortunately, I used all my stands to use my my light setup. So I ended up using my DJI Mic 2s. Normally I would boom up a mic. I got a Sennheiser MKE 600. Very good mic, but at the moment it's just sitting on top of my FX3 just for scratch audio. But yeah, normally you would boom this mic or a mic, shotgun mic or anything like that, just off the shot and about 6 to 12 inches from the person's forehead, sort of aiming at their chest, so then you can get nice crisp audio. But yeah, unfortunately I just ran out of poles and stands, so I had to use this. If it is very serious and you're doing an interview, you definitely don't want to be seeing these things flicker. I'm pretty sure you can see red lights, you can see green lights. Yeah, it doesn't look good. Ideally you want to have none of that stuff around you, so then you're not having to have issues in post. One aspect I missed out was the tripods. I've got 2 series tripods, very inexpensive tripods. They're a bit niggly to use. I mean, they're cheap in the scheme of things. They're only 200 New Zealand dollars, which would be 100 odd US. They do the job, don't get me wrong. They're very good for your beginner sort of tripod, but definitely they're a bit tricky to get to the right height. You have to adjust each leg one at a time, and I almost dropped my camera twice. So yeah, definitely get good tripods. It sounds like a very boring thing to buy, but it's, yeah, it's an investment, that's for sure. Once you buy a good tripod once, you're not gonna have to buy it again. So definitely invest in a tripod if you can. And that's one of my next purchases, because I'm, again, not sick of these, but I think once my rig gets a bit big with the V-mounts and screens and mics and everything on it, it just becomes a bit heavy, and I think you need something a bit more sturdy and easier to adjust in height. So yeah, let's get into the lighting and the setup that I've got right here. So I'm gonna grab my phone and I'm gonna use the Sidus link. As I think I've mentioned, I always use Amaran. It doesn't matter what brand you use, the all lights are good. Amaran, Nanlite, Godox, none of the stuff is sponsored by any means. So everything I'm telling you, I use it because there's a reason behind it and because I like it. I don't get any money from any of these companies, not yet, hopefully one day. But ideally what you want to do is, once you stick with one system, doesn't matter Canon, Sony, Lumix, doesn't matter, stick to it, because the cohesiveness of how things work, that's what's going to be clutch when you come into, say, an interview setup like this. And at the moment I don't have it, but there is an iPad or Apple, there is an app where you can link all these cameras together because of Sony, and I'll be able to see each one from my iPad while I sit here, and I can play with the lighting and actually monitor it wirelessly. I know you can do that with other things like the DJI transmitters, but then you need another monitor, you need lots of things. So when you see these ecosystem things, it's just great. It just works well. And same with the Amaran. I've gone with Amaran because of the Sidus Link app. I'm pretty sure Nanlite's got one. I'm not sure if Godox have one, but I'm sure they do. But the idea is that one app controls everything. So right now, I'll just grab my phone. You create a scene and you add all your lights. The idea is you can control each light with a toggle. So right now I'm going to turn everything off. So right now, this is what the image would look like if I had everything off, no lighting, just two cameras. I mean, it's not horrible because I'm using daylight with some curtains, and there's lights in the room. The room is not as dark as it could be, and it's a cloudy day here in New Zealand at the moment. We got a storm coming. So yeah, definitely a lot darker than what it looked like before. So now I'm going to start turning on one by one from the dimmest to my key, so then you can see the effect of each one. So we're going to start with the Amaran PT4C, which is a tube light, which you see on the overall camera, which is a tube light. So if we turn this on, you're going to see that you get a very light kiss of light sort of on the couch, on my shoulder, behind my head, which helps separate me from a little bit from the background. So if I turn it off, turn it back on. So I've got it set up to 4200 Kelvin, and the idea of that is to add a bit of contrast between my key light and what's behind me. And also, I don't know if you can see it in the shot, but there is a little bulb there, which is a tungsten, or sorry, a warmer look bulb. So it kind of sort of motivates that lighting, and it helps sort of think that that lighting is providing the warmth to the back of me, helping separate me from whatever's behind me. So yeah, so we'll keep that on, and now we'll move on to the next light, which is the Amaran 200X, which is set up to the left of me. And that one there, what it's doing is lighting up the background. I've got it set up with a light dome at the moment and pointing at the ceiling. The idea of that is that it bounces off the ceiling and it goes to the back behind me, and it lights and adds a bit of light and kick to that background, so it doesn't look so dark, as you can see where the plant is. So I'm going to turn that on now. So at the moment, that one's sitting at 56 Kelvin and at 60% with a, like I said, a light dome. And now as I turn that on, it does sort of spill a little bit to my face, which will add a little bit to the key. But also it adds a lot of light to the room. It lifts the room up a little bit because of the ND, so the room went down. So we combat that by using a other light. I think 60% looks nice, it looks natural, it looks like the light's coming from the window. So yeah, it nicely motivates that window, and it looks like it's lighting the back of the room quite nicely. So if I turn it back off, you can kind of see the difference. On, off, back on. You get the gist. So ideally, that light will just, yeah, lift the room up, maybe give a little bit of a kiss of light on the same side as the key. And the idea of that is that it looks natural and not overblown, or it's not hard light. It's nicely diffused by the light dome. Sorry, that's not a light. Sorry, that's not a light dome. That's the aperture light. Sorry, that's not a light dome. That one's an aperture lantern, which actually sends light around it. It's not like a softbox where it's directional. This one here sort of spills the light everywhere. So I could put a cover so it doesn't spill towards me and it only shoots to the back of the room. Ideally you want to use a Fresnel or something more directional, but I don't have one of those, so I'm using one of these. I could use the metal reflector that comes with the light, but I think that's still too harsh for my liking at least. So with this one here, I think it kind of diffuses the light nicely and just doesn't look harsh, it doesn't look saucy. So I think that's a really good idea if you want to sort of lift the room light a little bit. Chuck a light on, does it 60%, 2600 Kelvin. Yeah, so that's why I put it at 5600 Kelvin, because it's the same warmth or temperature as my key light. So I don't want to have that at a warmer temperature and then this being a different temperature with the key light, and it'll just clash with my face. So that's why I've got that light at that temperature. Moving on to the key light, I've got a 300C. Just purchased this light for that reason, because I needed that extra wattage. I needed something that could punch through, definitely like in this setup where I think my 200X would have struggled a little bit. Definitely a great purchase. It's good value for money. You can get the 300 aperture range, but that's a few thousand more, definitely at least $600 $800 more than this one. Yes, it's a bit cheaper in terms of the build quality, but it definitely does the job. It definitely gets me out of a pickle. Ideally I love a 600 X or something along the lines of that, but yeah, that's just $4,000, which I don't have. So now we're going to go back into the Sidus Link app. Once it loads, now we're going to go to the 300C, and now we're going to turn this back on and you'll see the difference of this light. So now you see the whole setup. If I turn it off, on. Right now this one's sitting at 88% with a grid, and I've got a 90 centimeter light I have a 90 centimeter softbox. I think it's 36 inches, I could be wrong. It's around the 38 inch size, 90 centimeters for sure. And then I've put a grid on top of it. The idea of the grid is so it's directional to me and it doesn't spill too much to the background, so it's more control. Again, in this sort of lighting scenarios where you want the most control possible so you can direct light or take things off. This is also at 5600K temperature wise, or Kelvin, and which is daylight. So in a day like this, I think it looks nice, it looks natural, it looks like it'll be a window or something shooting light, which is probably a continuum window over that side. However, if you see the back of this is just my TV and a wall, there's actually no window on that side, but it looks like that would be a whole window. So ideally you always want to come from somewhere. If that was a full wall, it could look like there'll be a window there, but it looks natural. It doesn't look like there is nothing there. So the idea of having these lightings, each one has a job. So the key light obviously lights me and my face, it gives me a drop off. And then on this side of the image, you'll see that there's probably a bit more shadow. And ideally you always put your key light and then you film from the dark side of the image. So obviously from the shadow, so you create a line, your light's on this side, and then you film from the other side, or where the shadow side is. The idea of that is it creates a bit more contrast and texture, and it just looks more like a Rembrandt lighting. If you definitely want to go for more dramatic look, then you'll definitely want to make this side of the face, or where your camera is, a lot darker, and that way it looks a bit more moody. Part of the reason you see a lot of bit more shade on this side of the room is because I've got a negative, which is a 5-in-1 reflector with a black sheet or a black cover on it, and the idea is it'll suck the light and makes shadows on my face. The reason I did that is because when I set everything up, everything just looked too bright. Everything was just too even. I didn't like it. It was just too much like a beauty shot, and I wanted a little bit more of a shadow, a little bit more of, like, you know, the shape of my face, my jawline. So I put a it's a 5-in-1 1.8 meter wide or tall 5-in-1 reflector, and it's something every videographer should have. A 5-in-1 reflector is, yeah, you got obviously the negative, you got a diffuser, you got a bounce, you got a gold bounce, which kind of adds a lot of golden light for like golden hour if you want that sort of look, or if you want to do something a bit more interesting. And I can't remember what the fifth thing is, but definitely an investment, definitely something. I got a little one, I got a 680 centimeter one. It's okay, it gets you out of a pickle if you need something, but this one here is almost, it's taller than me, and it's about this wide, about a meter wide. It's great. It's definitely worth your while. I think this is a Godox. Yeah, it's great. So definitely get one, and you can just put it to the shadow side, or even if you want to bounce the light, you just flip the plastic or the cover, and then you get a reflection, or I guess a bounce to this side of the face, and then your face will look nice and even with the lighting. So yeah, definitely invest into one of those. Get the big one, don't bother with the little one. So yeah, this is my setup, and this is how I went about it, and this is how I would set up an interview if I had to do one today. Other than using this DJI Mic 2, I would have boomed the mic in, but obviously I need to get another stand. I've got 3 stands right now, and that's not enough. So I'll need 4 stands. Well, one will be a boom. So yeah, so if we quickly run through the gears: 2 cameras, 2 lenses, 35-50, 2 VNDs. You want a mic either to your cameras or to a recorder, so then you can obviously have a track of audio saved. Ideally, you want to, best case for me in terms of post-production is I'll save it directly to the camera, to the FX3, to the handle, and then that way I don't have to mess around with post, with having to sync audio, which I'm going to have to do now. But ideally, that way you just, one camera has the audios already. In terms of lighting, I've got 2 lights plus a tube. I don't think I need anything else. Maybe I will get a 2-foot or a PT2C tube, which is the same as this one, but it's a bit shorter. And I will chuck it, I don't know, maybe in the fireplace there or somewhere, just to as a prompt, not necessarily. And then again, that's not necessary. I don't think I need any other lights. This is probably all I would need, to be fair. For now, would be nice just to maybe push the lighting direction and control it a bit better, other than that lantern. But beyond that, again, I don't need it. I think it's the way it is okay, but it'd be nice. Another one will be a gobo. I think Small Rig do a little light which you can put some shapes in the gobo, which will make like a shape of a shutter, or give you some cool lines that you can sort of put in the background with different colors. But again, for this sort of setup, I don't think that would be necessary. You could put the reflection of a tree maybe on a wall, something like that, or not the reflection but the shadows with the gobo, which will be something that goes into that. But again, it's just to add texture to the image. It's not necessarily you must have it. Whereas I think lights, it's probably, yeah, you definitely need a key light for sure, a hair light. I think that will be sort of the 2 key lights you probably need. Maybe definitely a 5-in-1 negative or reflector, so then you can push and pull the lighting off this side of the face, or the dark side of the face I should say. And then yes, if you've got another light to sort of lift up the room, definitely I recommend it. So yeah, so this is it guys. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, you know the deal. I've been trying to get more videos out for you guys, but it's just really hard at the moment. Like I said, I'm an engineer, sort of my 9 to 5, and I don't have too much time, unfortunately, to film, edit, and pump out content. I thought this would be a lot easier, but I've got 2 kids as well. So yeah, so time is definitely not abundant. So I have to pick and choose things that I do. I've also got this as a side hustle, so I'm doing little shoots, little projects here and there to get extra cash. So yeah, I guess YouTube kind of takes the least priority of them all. So yeah, but I really appreciate you guys. I know I'm slowly growing in this, but yeah, I really appreciate the comments down below. If you got any questions, any of the gear, I probably will list all the gear in the description below. And if you made it this far, you're a legend. You're definitely making my day. So yeah, thanks guys, I appreciate it, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.